ready to go. First thing.
That's good.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. See you online. Amy McDonald online as well. Okay. So, welcome to the extraordinary council meeting. Like to any housekeeping. You here? We have parakeeters to start with.
Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tono. Kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā parapara ki tai. E hia te aha te ātaka kura, he tio, he rupa, he hau tu, ti hei, mauti.
No apologies that I'm aware of. That comes through.
We just read through the us online.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
Right, so there's no conflicts of interest.
Yes,
that I'm aware of.
Do the disclaimer.
So we'll start with the governor.
Gonna use live streaming if it's okay, and we'll just read this.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Kia ora koutou. Tom will be running the live stream today. So under the Privacy Act 2020, I must inform you that the live stream will be on the NRC YouTube channel. So if you do not wish your voice or face to be on there, can you please let us know now, and you'll need to leave the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, so the executive summary, this report implements the notice of motion, council decisions during November 23 council meetings to establish audit and risk committee, and probably investment on the management management. I'd like to move it to. Second.
Talk about
Recommendation
recommendation one.
Recommendations 1 to 9.
1 to 9, yeah. Do we have a second? Right. So the recommendation is option 1. This gives effect to November 23 notice of motion and implements the new government structure as confirmed during the workshop held on the 30th of January. Right. Any discussions around this?
So as the mover, I'd like to speak first. I just want to clarify the times if I can.
Yes.
It's 5 minutes to speak.
And can you give me a minute warning? Is that right? Kia ora tātou. I do not support any of the 9 recommendations laid down on this paper and will vote accordingly. These recommendations could feasibly allow a small group of people the opportunity to take control of the majority of council making decisions, creating a council governed by an oligarchy. We cannot have a self-appointed exclusive group of 5 people dictate every decision facing all of Northland. Given the recent moves by the group of councillors that I previously labelled the Loose 5 to take over all council making methods and prohibit the remaining councils from having any real voice, I believe I have no other form of redress than to speak out at this forum, a full public meeting of the Northland Regional Council. I'm often reminded by members of this coalition that, of course, you can have your say. You can speak at workshops. You can email your concerns to councillors. You can just pick up the phone and have a chat. These forms of communication rely on trust, as I see no conceivable reason why I would trust any of this Loose 5, especially as the majority of decisions are sealed by their block vote. From now on, I will have my say in the council, on the governing body of this council. What can we do? I am asked. Many, many things, I replied. You can attend the NRC council meetings. In fact, there are 2 this month alone. You can listen to the kōrero, form your own opinions, log into the live streaming of NRC meetings and comment. Write to your local papers, expressing your concerns at the way this governance of NRC is being conducted. Write to council, question this process and its outcomes. Submit, especially at the long-term plan and its associated hearings. Be heard. Comment on social media. Defend what you believe is right. Support your local ratepayer and business groups. Support their submissions to the NRC. Right, going back to the detail in these recommendations. The Infrastructure Committee, as stated on page 5, bullet points 1 and 2, which I will quickly refresh. Bullet point 1, ensuring that the committee provides an opportunity to strengthen and to improve the current system as a whole. My response to this is, if it ain't broke, why fix it? I believe this creates another level of unnecessary interference by governance in a system which is working absolutely fine and has done so for a number of years. Bullet point 2, ensuring that the work, role, functions and programs of existing governance bodies are not duplicated. Again, my response is, you kid me not. This is duplication at its worst. We already have working parties, committees, subcommittees, etc., etc. Why another one? This is simply an unmitigated power grab by a few. And now my comments on combining audit and risk with investment in property. Firstly, why not? Why not only are they working well, they complement each other and serve different purposes for the people of Northland. Secondly, yes, other councils may have combined committees, but Northland's different. It is special and it is best served by continuing the status quo. Again, an unnecessary proposal, which I believe will achieve absolutely nothing. I thank you all for listening. Nō reira, tēnā koutou katoa.
Okay, thanks, Rick. Any response? Jack?
Mr. Chairman, yes, I'd like to support Councillor Stallworth in almost all of his comments, but particularly with regard to recommendation 9. See, the terms of reference state that the infrastructure, I mean, I agree that we do not need an infrastructure committee because it duplicates the work of the Rivers Committees and the RTC, which was set up by statute, and it's something we can't unpick. So seems like an unnecessary duplication on top of the other considerations. But my major concern with the Infrastructure Committee is it only has 3 members, which is contrary, well, the intention is, which is contrary to the terms of reference, which says 4 members plus 2 independent members. I'm wondering why the recommendation 9 contains only 3 names. So that's clearly undemocratic, having a major component of our works and capital and operational expenditure managed by 3 councillors. It's completely undemocratic. And it certainly is not sustainable. Like a lot of things that have been organised around here lately, they're not sustainable.
Can you elaborate on not sustainable, Jack?
I mean, sustainable in terms of holding together. But we'll see what happens. That's just my view. So anyway, my major complaint is with recommendation 9. So totally opposed to that. I don't believe we need an infrastructure committee, but if you're going to have one, at least you could try and make it democratic. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jack. We have clarification that that is democratic, the way it's set up.
Kia ora, Chair. It's up to the elected representatives to decide what membership they wish to put on their government structure. It's up to the majority of council to vote as to what that membership looks like. Just with reference to the terms of reference in the infrastructure committee, Councillor Crawl's correct. It refers to 4 elected members. There's only 3 elected members within Resolution 9. Again, it's up to council as to whether you wish to change that within the terms of reference or leave that as 1 seat unfilled at this stage. Take your guidance.
Okay, is there any comment around this?
Yeah,
Joe?
I support the recommendations as they're in the agenda. This is at the moment a embryo committee, and will be very much working with government to find out what the government want. Already met had several hours with the CEO, with cabinet minister and staff, and I think the strength of our committee will be reporting back to the council as things evolve.
So we understand the delegations around here have to come back to council. That's correct. Yep. Aye. Okay, any other conversation around this committee setup?
Oh, sorry, Chair, having a few technical problems. Yeah, I support the appointment of the infrastructural committee. I think it's been used before in this council earlier on. I might have to give the phone to someone else. Also, I was interested in Councillor Stallworth's 5 people. Recommendation 6. Are they the 5 people?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Any other comments? We've got a hand up by Tui Shortland.
Wait, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, kia ora. I would like to say that I support your new direction as our new chair, Jeff, and I believe that all of the changes that have happened and that are happening are going to make our council more efficient. I thank our staff for preparing all the paperwork for these changes. I know this is big for everybody. The Auditor General, I'd like to point out again in our previous discussions as presented by Gavin, the Auditor General and many other councils do this, combine their property investment audit risk together into one. This is not a conspiracy. I don't believe that the name calling helps at all with our culture of our council. I would also like to, I observed, I've been at my auntie's tangi in Mototo and came back and read numerous emails about these topics, including the membership of the Audit Risk and Finance Committee where my name was discussed. I would like to say that as the previous chair, I was the one that was charged with chairing the decisions of the 2 committees when the recommendations when they came to council. I also led the primary relationships with the chairs of our entities, including Murray and others. I'm a member of the JRED, helped to develop the Te Rerenga strategy, and I actually think I would bring diversity to this board because looking at the list now, I see it on paper as it lays. It's an all-male committee. So I do think that I would bring a complementary aspect to this committee if the other councillors would consider it. Of course, this is the democratic process that Jeff, our new chair, is leading, where it all comes to a vote at the end of the day. So grandstanding and name calling again, I would request that we put those types of things aside and we worked together. In terms of the infrastructure committee, again, it will be more efficient. The ministry, of infrastructure is being established. We met with Minister Jones over Waitangi, and we saw many opportunities where this committee could be utilised. So I recommend all 9 recommendations with a consideration for recommendation 6. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments, please?
Yes, please. I haven't been in communication with Rick, but I certainly empathise with exactly what he says. I've expressed my concern regarding the mixing up or the joining together of the audit and risk and the investment in property, for the reason being that I feel it's a bit like the fox guarding the chicken run, that there should be a separate body, the audit and risk, that oversees and reflects back on the investment in property to ensure that there's an objective view rather than the members of the committee there perhaps getting a little bit rushed and wanting to do something and not having proper circumspection of it. That's my concern with the combining of that committee. My other concern is point 9, we discussed in a workshop that there were going to be more members than just the 3 expressed or the 3 written down. I've forgotten the exact numbers, but I know that I was on it. That's been removed. So that's, as you said before, Joe, strength in numbers there on your side of the table there. And I think that there is also that strength of numbers by more being on the infrastructure committee. You talked of meeting with the ministers. I haven't seen any reflection of that on any papers. So if that's the sort of feedback we're going to get, then I'm very concerned that it's going to be a committee of 3 to listen, talk, and make all the decisions, and then bring them to council. I'd far rather see a bigger committee there, so that all areas of the region are covered. And for those reasons, I'll be voting against it.
Thanks for your good one. Marty, I'd just like to carry on about our meeting with the minister so far. That will be documented and forwarded to everybody. Okay, so we haven't finished with that discussions as yet, but that is coming.
Well, just to respond to that, you haven't finished with the discussions. We haven't been part of the discussions, and that's a concern I have. That there will be discussions and then complete. Giving feedback after a completion of discussions is potentially a Clayton's contribution.
It'll come all in the chair's report.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, it's standard procedure.
We do provide monthly chairs reports to council that outline chairs' engagements through the previous month.
Yeah. Okay, so there's no more discussion around. Joe?
Yeah, I think it's second comment. Just Marty on page 8, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's point down. Because there's a myriad of catchments and various infrastructure items, is the opportunity and the delegation to establish and disestablish working groups, and what I think is the appropriate way of doing it is say your Waitangi catchment, something's happening in there, we actually form a working group around that, so we can bring in iwi and so forth just around that, rather than having it'd be impossible to try and have the committee loaded with the right number of people to deal with everything. So that was the panel improved in time. Whether we do that to the satisfaction of the involved, I feel
You can change it now to 3 if you want. You can leave one.
just to give examples. In fact, we're able to go to involved with the Awanui River Committee, and we made massive consensus decisions. So, you know, I think the co-popper of that process will be included. Cheers, Marty.
Just as a question in response to that, it says that the membership will be 4 elected members. We're just reiterating what Jack said, and yet there are only 3 named.
we're going to leave one vacant at this moment, so there'd be no changes.
Is there a reason for that when considering that at the workshop we did come up with names?
Well, you've just heard Joe wants to leave it open to, for whatever projects are open, just bring on councillors in that area.
Point of information, Mr. Chairman, can the recommendation state that? Make that clear, because isn't clear at the moment. And second question.
Be recorded in the minutes, Mr. Chair,
Yep.
this discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And just a point of clarification there, on the as Joe said on page 8, the fourth, 1, 2, 3, 4, delegation dot point, we're allowing this committee to establish and disestablish working groups. Is that talking about river groups?
I would say all groups, what the project is. So I understand, Joe.
I'm happy to talk about, we're not going to disestablish groups set up by council. Within this committee.
That's what it says here.
No, it's the delegations of the committee. It's within the committee. This committee can establish a working group. Until your working group, if you're going to have one, over there, so that you're actually bringing together a working group on a particular matter. And I'm absolutely confident that it's a good way forward. For instance, if you're trying to get iwi representation right across this region at a committee level, it'd be extremely hard to do. But when we're dealing with a discrete area, we can get the appropriate people involved. And that bullet point 4 gives us the opportunity to do that.
Yes, I'm not disagreeing with that. So I agree with the advantages of establishing working groups, because if you're going to be doing infrastructure in any area at all, you have to involve the locals. What I'm saying here, it says here, has a delegate, this group of 3+ councillors will give itself the power to disestablish working groups, existing working groups.
So no, would you like that to be qualified to say establishing working groups, establishing disestablished working groups of the infrastructure committee? Is that what you want? You want?
No, I don't believe that a committee of 3 or 4 councillors should have the power to disestablish any working groups. There has to be a power of council.
If I can just clarify, Chair, all of the other governance structure that council's got doesn't report to this committee. So your natural resources working party or your river liaison working party. So the committee doesn't have the delegation to disestablish any of those other existing working groups that we've got. This delegation here purely provides the ability for this committee to establish working groups of its own.
I thank you.
Yep. And to establish and disestablish them as they see fit within.
It doesn't actually say that, but anyway, okay. But I get it's qualified by relating to committee business, to this committee business, perhaps I should say.
And if it was to be able to disestablish, for example, the river liaison committees, we'd have to specifically provide that delegation in here and that those committees reported to this.
Thank you. I'm happy. Thank you. Thank you.
Hold on, Mr. Chair.
Yep, there you go.
Just to start with, I'd like to acknowledge the mamae that came across in the corridor from Councillor Stolwerk. Just the passion and emotion in those statements. But at the same time, I do reject the notion that there is a group being referred to as the Loose Five. I think that it's important that we take opportunities to reignite a level of trust amongst one another. For me, that's important, particularly because how we got to this place was somebody wanted a reset, and a reset was achieved. As part of that reset, we now have a new way and new people in key position. And so that dates back to our meeting that we had at the cricket stadium that was organised by Councillor Stolberg and facilitated by Maureen Blassie. Following on from that, we learnt that Councillor Stolberg had requested legal advice about how to remove and replace the chairman. So I think if we are to reflect on the chain of events that have led us to where we are, we'll find that trust is really important, and name calling is not going to help us restore that trust. Furthermore, I do believe that we have an opportunity to express our perspective and opinion through voting, and that's what we will do when we make a decision, and the majority is what carries that decision. And so in that respect, I think it's really important for us to understand how we make our decisions, and particularly personal ones. And if we do need to better understand that, perhaps we need like a fully fledged investigation into the whole chain of events.
So we'll just stop there because that's
That
going
could
off.
possibly
That's going off the
help
topic.
us
All right.
learn more.
So
Kia
I
ora.
think we've heard enough from everybody.
Just as a point of information, if I may, the point that Peter Lucas brings up about a request to remove the chair, and we brought up what was a confidential meeting at the pavilion. So if we're talking through that, then I'd like to respond to that, that it was actually the 3 members of the infrastructure committee who actually called for the resignation of the chair. It was no who, it was only a request for information by one of the members, which was answered afterwards, but there was no intent. In fact, the result of the pavilion meeting was that the members decided that they wanted to continue with the chair, Tui, in her position, provided she give a bit more information and feedback to members, which subsequently she did the following day in saying what she had been doing over that time, which is really a greatly appreciated improvement, which should have continued, but there may have been a secret meeting subsequent to that, where now the 5 members got together, evicted the 4 who wanted Tui to remain. I'd just like that point of information.
Through the chair, point of order, please. It is so inappropriate for another councillor to try and speak on my behalf. Point of
Tui,
order.
This is not what we're discussing. I just let Marty have a response because definitely Peter Lucas had a flaw, but I would like to go back to vote on option 1, which is a recommendation.
Yep, I've got my right to reply, Chair.
Okay, a minute.
Three, but I won't take 3.
Okay.
Look, I do want to reiterate what the chair said. I'm not interested anymore in regurgitating the past. I want to go forward, and the reason I spoke like I did today is because I do not agree with these infrastructure and audit and risk committees going forward. I do not agree with the restructuring. I'm not talking about going backwards, I'm talking about going forwards. So, and I just want to, I guess my main concern for the infrastructure, as I've said, is that, and it's already been pointed out several times, so I do not need to go on about it, but to me, it's another unnecessary level of governance that I do not believe we need. So that's all I need to stay on the infrastructure committee. On the on the investment in property and audit and risk, and I've said it already, but I do believe Northland is different to other councils, and because our investment portfolio and property portfolio is different to many of them, so I believe it should stand alone. It's not tacked onto audit and risk. Effectively, it's tacked on to audit and risk. I don't think that's appropriate for this committee. I don't think it's appropriate for Northland to have it separate. That's why I stand by those words, that to me, investment in property should be standing alone. It's coming under the umbrella of audit and risk rather than being its own person. And I believe it should stand, we should stand by it as an individual committee, because it does a great deal of work. It's very transparent, and it is showing to Northland that we are actually taking investment in property seriously. I do not believe by tucking it under in audit and risk, which effectively what it is taking it seriously. So that's it. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to put this to a vote. All in favour of option one, please raise your hand. Tui? Yep, that's 5. All against?
Is that?
Oh, you can
see.
That's 4. Okay, passed. Move on.
So just as a point of clarification, option 1, we have Jack Craw has voted against himself being a member of the Audit, Risk and Finance Committee, which is recommendation number 6. Is that correct, Mr. Chair? Just for clarification on that position.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, in that
He
case,
has
No,
not.
I haven't. I've just voted against.
yes, but through you, Mr. Chair, we were dealing with recommendations 1 to 9. I think that that's a clear indication that somebody doesn't want to be a member of that committee. And if that is the case, I think we revisit that and include Tui, because Tui's just expressed that she wants to be part of that committee. Jack Craw has voted against recommendation 6, which is that he would be a member of that committee.
It's already been passed, Mr. Chair.
Okay, can I get?
I think it's a really important point that's just happened.
So Chris is just referring to standing orders. At the moment, you've passed resolutions 1 through 9.
Yeah.
Chris, I suspect it's just having a look to see what standing orders says about revisiting a decision that you've just made.
Yeah, so it's the option to make an amendment before that was passed. Otherwise, if you want to revoke or alter this resolution, you need 75% of the members present and voting to agree to that revocation or alteration.
Okay, so it needs to go back to another vote.
That's correct.
Okay.
What is 75%?
So could you just make sure we follow the right correct wording?
The reason I raise it to our attention, Mr. Chair, and as we've been discussing trust, that's formed content of our conversation to date in this meeting. I find it unusual that somebody who's named as being one of the people appointed to the Audit and Risk and Finance Committee now votes against their own inclusion in that committee. It just seems unusual, and especially when we had a member, the deputy chair, that voiced her desire to be part of the committee, and it just seems unusual to me.
Okay, all right. So I'll get Chris to read out the.
Can I just ask you a question?
Yeah.
It really is a technical procedural one. Because this could have been broken down, Jack could have asked for it to be done by numbers.
Yeah.
And didn't. And procedurally,
Well, did anyone else?
he's voted against himself being on there. Yeah, it's quite a.
No, I haven't actually.
I just wonder whether we actually need some outside advice on this and whether it should lay on the
Well,
table.
Rick proposed that we take 1 to 9.
Yeah, we have. It's
Been done. It's the recommenders that we're voting on.
Yeah.
So can we hold that until we get proper legal advice around this, please?
Well, a decision has been made, but my point is, if someone doesn't want to be on a committee, just be honest about it and say that you don't want to be on a committee rather than vote against yourself being on the committee.
No, Mr. Chairman, please don't. Councillor Jones, it's my mouth. I didn't vote against myself being on that committee. I actually don't believe we need this committee, but if we're going to have it, I'd certainly like to be on it.
Right.
So I'm quite happy for it to remain as it is.
Yeah, I think
So,
we've got to.
so therefore, are you voting for? Are you voting differently now, Jack?
Rick Stoll.
It just feels really double standards when you speak the whole meeting against these recommendations, and then you still want to sit on it. And what we need is a good functioning committee moving forward, an enabling committee, and not somebody that is purely there because he doesn't like the functioning of the committee. And this is about trust.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
please, I won't have words put in.
No. Can I just go back, because Rick had a
So
second up
according
first.
to me, the way forward is to have a vote. We need 75% of the vote, that we need 6 3/4 people to vote. 6 3/4, that's 75%. That's correct. So it'll be 7 people have to vote for it. Otherwise it stands. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct.
So why don't we just have the vote and then it's done?
Okay.
If there's a motion been made, I'd like to speak against the motion, if there has been a motion.
No
made.
motion has been made.
No,
We're
it's
just
no
raising an
motion.
unusual feature of decision making.
Or can I therefore say, Jack has voted against what has been proposed in favour of the old model. It's like having a blue car, a red car, and we say, we want to go in the blue car, and the majority say, no, we're going in the red car. And therefore, you have to jump on the red car. That's the analogy I put. We've got a structure now, which, because it is here, everybody has to get along with it, including Jack, who's named as one of the members on the committee.
Okay, can I just
Do
go
we
back
have
to
a
what's
blue card,
legally
red card?
correct, please?
Yep.
Okay, we just need to follow that.
Kia ora, Chair. Just to clarify, resolutions 1 through 9 were moved.
Yes.
Seconded.
Passed.
Majority of people voted in favour of them.
Yep.
If council wishes to review one of them, as Chris has said, you need 75% of the votes to review one of those resolutions. That would require a mover and a seconder to get a different resolution on the table, and then you vote. If there's no resolution moved, then there's nothing to be discussed, and you move on to the next item.
Oh, well, is there any resolutions?
And let's note that usually we go through one by one because that's what I thought that we're doing, because I had raised the recommendation 6. So let's note, usually we do go one by one, and this could have been done better. Because
Okay.
now it confuses things when people spoke for ages and ages against it, and now they want to be on the committee.
Okay, well, we're going to move on to item 5.2.
Right.
Okay. Right, review of councillors' portfolios. Okay, this report enables council to review its councillor portfolios, taking into account the changes that have occurred to its governance arrangements since the portfolio holders were originally appointed in November 2022. It's important for the efficient and effective running of the business that council portfolios are assigned to the appropriate role and or subject expert. Okay, we've got recommendations 1, 2, 3.
Perhaps ask Chair if you want to take them one by one.
You want to take these one by one?
I think so.
Okay. Do I have a mover to take one by one?
You don't- That's fine. It's
Oh, it's okay. Okay, we'll take them as one by one. Okay.
Yeah, do you want, has someone moved the report be received?
Yes, we're just moving to Joe.
Yeah,
I'll move a report received. Yep.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we've got recommendations 1, that the report review council portfolios by Chris Taylor, governance specialist, dated 21.
That's what we've just received that.
Yep, we just received that. The council confirms the following council portfolios. Okay, so we've got Kaikoura Moana Working Party, Tui Shortland and Councillor P Jones. Northern Conservation Board, G Crawford. Shareholder representative, chair of council. I don't think I need to read all this. I think say we're taking it as read. The options are staff recommendation is option 1, update the portfolio holders. Any discussion? Jack?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask Chris, what was the terms of reference for Kaikoura Moana remediation? I thought it had 3 councils on it.
No, it only has 2, and it doesn't actually allow for an alternate either. Originally, we had councillor Crawford as an alternate, but when I checked the actual legislation, it doesn't allow for that. It's just 2.
We've had 3 going
This
meetings.
is not the remediation. They're 2 different things.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to
Sorry.
clarify,
Yes, thank you, councillor Shortland.
Yep.
Thank you.
any other discussions?
Just Northern Conservation Board, looks as though you're on the whole lot, Jeff. Is there not going to be sharing so that someone else might be on the Northern Conservation Board who's been involved with biosecurity, biodiversity?
No.
Keep you busy.
Okay, do we have a mover and a seconder?
Aye. Kia ora.
Okay, the staff's recommendation is option 1.
If you've got a mover and a seconder for resolution 2, if there's no more discussion, then
No more discussion?
call for votes.
Call for a vote? No more discussion? Okay. All in favour of option 1?
Yeah.
Aye.
Was it Amy?
Amy, 6. Okay, passed.
Against, you haven't asked, I'm against.
Against?
I'm against.
1. 1 against.
Any abstentions, Mr. Chair?
So
Just for clarification purposes, I'm just wondering how that vote fell. Perhaps our secretariat can confirm the numbers for us.
My understanding is everyone was in favour except for Rick, who was against, but I'm willing to be corrected on that.
It's okay. Yeah, I agree. I'd have no objection.
Okay,
Resolution 3.
resolution 3,
Oh, God.
that the council notes, council portfolios for appeals and regional plan and for Northern sports facilities are no longer required. Do I have a mover?
Happy to move that.
Okay.
It's been a relief.
All right, and a seconder?
Been 10
I'm
years.
happy to
hasn't it?
second, that's Amy.
Okay, well done.
I would say, Chair, I'm happy to move that because it's been, what, 10 years?
Something like that, yes.
Right. Relief to get that one done.
Okay,
16.
all in favour, say aye.
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 Passed. Against? So what are we on to?
5.3,
5.3, yeah.
and it's page 20 of your agenda.
Review of elected members, remuneration, sorry, I've always struggled with that word. This report gives effect to notice of motion that was passed on the 28th of November 2023. Council meeting states that the current NRC council remuneration package is reviewed with a view to council agreeing on an improved remuneration structure and package at the next council meeting. Okay, formal approval of the revised remuneration agreements is sought by council prior to the proposed being submitted to the remuneration authority for consideration, and on approval will be included in the next determination. It's important to note that the revised proposal may be lodged with the remuneration authority prior to 23 February 2024 for it to be included in the next determination due to be issued on late March 2024. Hence the basis for calling an extraordinary council meeting to consider this and the previous matters, which are all independent. Independent, yeah.
Do we want to take those separately again?
1 and 2. Sorry.
Chair, I just want to say we don't often, don't always take recommendations one at a time. We've often taken them all at once. So
I'm happy to move the first recommendation and the second recommendation separately, Mr. Chair.
Or do I need a second?
No, any elected member can request that they be taken separately. It doesn't
Okay.
have to be moved and seconded.
All right. Okay. Report review elected members remuneration by Chris Taylor, specialist government.
Yeah, I'm happy to move number 1.
I've already just moved it.
Okay, I'll
Mr.
second
Chair,
it.
Okay, second.
and I've already moved the second one as well.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Yep, check. So we go straight to 3.
Vote on it.
All those in favour?
All in favour, say aye.
Aye.
I just have a question.
Aye.
Number, the second recommendation, Mr. Chair. I seek to better understand why only the chairperson of the Whangarei Public Transport Working Party is included there and not the chairperson of PTMAC, which is also a working party. Is there a specific reason why we are favouring a particular person in these recommendations?
I'm not sure.
So this is based on the methodology 1 as detailed in the report. And in that case, the deputy chair is the co-chair of TTMAC. And under the scenario for the role of deputy chair, we have given an additional duties allowance of 10K. Some of the other options looked at the particular roles and functions of the deputy chair as opposed to providing a certain quantum. This one doesn't. So the 10K recognises the additional duties of the chair, which includes the roles across council.
Chair,
Yes.
you, with the options down below there, bullet point 2, that methodology 1 of talking about the $300 per meeting for meeting fees should be included in the recommendation remuneration. They're getting the remuneration of that lump sum, but I think it should be iterated in this recommendation that the chairs of each or when chairing each meeting, they will get a $300 additional. That should be included in the motion.
Clarification.
Sorry, Marty, can you just say that again?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, when it's got the chair,
Methodology 1.
or for instance, the deputy chair, it gives a remuneration there of a blank number or a chairperson of the Regional Transport Committee, but it doesn't state that they will get $300 for each meeting that they attend.
So
It also recognises.
Kia ora, Chair. They won't get a $300 per meeting. What we required to do, and Chris, please do correct me if I get any of this wrong.
Just because it says that in the following line.
We need to provide a methodology to the Remuneration Authority, and the Remuneration Authority sets what the remuneration for each member is.
Yep.
It's not if you don't get $300 if you chair or if you miss a meeting, for example. We've got to put together a methodology, and that's what comes up with your entire remuneration package, because we need to be able to allocate the entire quantum. And if I can, just by while I've got the floor, Councillor Jones, if you wanted to advocate for what you were saying there, that's methodology 3, where the deputy chair gets the allowance as deputy chair and is also then able to collect the $300 meeting allowance as the co-chair. That would be advocating for methodology 3.
I just think it's an unfairness, because that's a particularly big piece of work. And after reflecting on the fact that the chairperson of the Public Transport Working Party is going to have an increase, I think it's only fair that that's shared across each of those working parties. Working parties, in my view, don't have the same delegated authority as committees. But I do think that in this case, we should actually think about that and consider it. I'm mindful that we have to provide a methodology, but if methodology 3 is going to allow for the deputy chair to also be remunerated for her time as the chairman of TTMAC, I think it's important that we consider it, particularly if we're considering it for the Whangarei Public Transport Working Committee chair. So my comments are come from a place of fairness.
Well, we did ask for communication around this.
And through you, Mr. Chair, I've had offline conversations with the CEO and others around my view that people are remunerated fairly. Of course, that will be made democratically, that decision. I'm just sharing my point of view, because I think that Te Tai Toketo Māori and Council Working Party is an important piece of work and requires leadership across a number of portfolios that span a number of work streams across the council work. And whilst there is a view that methodology 1 perhaps is the best one to move forward, I'm just voicing my point of view that it doesn't reflect the unique set of circumstances that the Tai Tokerau Māori and Council Working Party has to deal with. But I'll leave that there. It's just a suggestion that we remunerate the Deputy Chair for her role as Chairman of TTMAC as well.
Any other voice around this issue?
Kia ora,
Answer.
Jeff.
Ms. Tui?
Yes. You know, I raised this at the workshop with staff. Like, what I would have expected is that you would have looked at all the portfolios, chair, deputy portfolios, and assigned numbers to each of them as standalone portfolios. You know, we want to establish a model that lives beyond our term. Hopefully this doesn't have to continue. So it does not matter whether or not a deputy chairs, you know, something else, or somebody is chairing two things such as the Regional Transport Committee and Infrastructure. It's all based on the portfolio. Otherwise, you're going to end up with councillors who are not carrying kaupapa, who are remunerated very similarly to people who are holding 1, 2 portfolios. So that's what I would have expected returning. This looks fairly much the same, despite numerous feedback that has been received. I understand the timelines, but I think in all fairness, it should be figures according to portfolios. Aha koa, koe e mawana ki ngā portfolios. Kia ora.
No. You can make a decision today if you want to make the remuneration authority timeframe.
Okay, I'll let you, just, can you, I'll speak on that.
Got a
Yep.
chair.
I was just asking advice.
Chair just asked if we were able to leave this on the table, but council needs to make a decision today if you wish us to then lodge the new remuneration with the remuneration authority for them to make a determination by March. Otherwise, and we need to do that by, Chris, is it the 23rd or 24th of February. Otherwise, your next opportunity isn't until the end of this financial year for the remuneration authority to make that determination.
Well, so really to move this forward, we need a direction by councillors on what they agreed to. We did ask for a response. There was 3 responses supporting option 1. And that's what's asked for. So I dare say that's why option 1 has been bought out, because we did ask for responses and that only 3 people did respond. I know Peter Lucas Jones definitely was keen on another option. So really to move this forward, we need to vote on whether we all agree that option 1 is what we're agreeing to, or we look at another option and then debate that.
Right, correct.
Okay. So we need to vote.
So we are here today together. Is there any chance of, given that staff has received this feedback in the past, that we could adjourn it for 30 minutes while staff try and respond to, you know, these types of requests that have been received previous to this meeting? I apologise. I've been at a hui mate, so I didn't get a chance to read, but we have been engaged. We have been given feedback to the staff, and at this point, it doesn't, you know, we've got councillors who are doing 2 jobs that aren't being recognised for it. Is that really the way we want to move forward? Can we give it 30 minutes of brainstorming? Thank you.
I'll just let Jono respond because he knows the technical.
Just to clarify, the methodology one that's put forward in the paper is the direction that staff received. So we've followed through with the direction that we've received and what's included in the paper. We do, however, if councillors choose to go with a different methodology, we are able to very quickly plug in the numbers. So if, for example, you decided to go with methodology 3 as an alternate, Chris has an Excel spreadsheet here that we can replug the numbers in quite quickly and provide what that different remuneration package would be. We don't need to adjourn for 30 minutes. We can do it quite quickly and provide what those new numbers would look like if that's what councillors wish to do.
Okay, so we need to get a vote on whether we're going to move that forward.
Exactly.
Okay. So, right, all in favour of approving option 1?
Yep, Joe.
1,
Aye.
2, 4. Sorry.
So just to clarify, so you're moving, there's a mover.
Yeah.
Councillor Jones, do we have a seconder for that?
Yeah.
I think.
Sorry.
And so you're just going for resolution 2 at the moment.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure we're crystal
Yeah,
clear.
yeah, sorry.
And resolution 2 is methodology 1.
Yes.
And as a result of you know, wanting to understand what the exercise would look like if we did plug in the numbers for option 3.
Yes.
Would it not be fair? You said it would take a moment to do that.
Yes.
Would it not be fair to take a moment to do that and see how that changes the remuneration figures?
Okay.
It probably will be a very small amount, but it's really about, I think, taking into account that we have 2 people that are chairs of working committees. And why would we only remunerate one person unless there's some sort of alliance within the organisation that I'm not aware of? Because I think fairness would remunerate both.
All right.
That's just my, that's
On the
that's
reflection of fairness, Peter Lucas Jones, I think we give Chris time. Or let's just pause for a break.
So just to be
Yeah.
clear, the methodology is at the rear attachment 1. So if you look at methodology
Yeah.
3, that
Yeah.
is what the breakdown will be in
Yeah.
methodology 3, unless you change some
Can you
funding.
refer us to the page?
Certainly, sorry.
Methodology 3 here.
Page
Yeah.
29.
29, so.
Yep.
And so
27.
change the meeting fee of $300, that's what it looks like.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, can we have a 5-minute break,
But-
please?
Chair, what gets me is we've had this for 5-6 days. Why we've got the opportunity to ask the questions. They weren't asked. I think we should have voted on number 2. We don't need, you bring up these things at the last minute. We've had plenty of time. We've had discussion in council of this. Why bring it up again? Why? There's just no reason.
And Mr. Chair,
In the interest of fairness, it should have been brought up before then.
And Mr. Chair, in response to that, I would say that I was the mover of this notice of motion. I was not contacted for any clarification by operations. It would have been helpful had they contacted me. I have given several different contributions around what things could look like. Seeing this now, it tells me a lot. If we choose to go with option 1 or methodology 1 or methodology 3, I mean, the majority will make that decision. And I think the fact that we're having this conversation, it is important because we're talking about remuneration. We're having a robust discussion, but I think it's really telling that just the way that this has unfolded. And I'll leave it there,
Yeah.
but I'm happy to
Look.
just say that I think that methodology 3 is better than 1 now that we're having the conversation.
Look,
Kia ora.
I do support what Rick has said, because of efficiencies and streamlining our meetings that we asked for a response.
Yep.
Rick didn't respond, Marty didn't respond. We've only had 3 responses come in. Okay,
I responded several times.
yeah, but I'm just saying, like, why leave it now?
Exactly.
So the reason why I've left it till now, because I was advised by the CEO that we can actually just have this discussion now. And if there is a willingness to change that option, that's what I was advised by the CEO. So I'm just reflecting back to our conversation.
Okay, well, I think it's worth a 5-minute break.
Mr. Chairman, I share your frustration. Wouldn't it be better if Councillor Jones moved an amendment, see if he can get a seconder to it, to change option, methodology 1, methodology 3? Deal it right now. Well, that's wasting an awful lot of time, over a few $100s. It's very.
When I saw Daryl, could you say something about?
I don't believe it's in the spirit of public
Um,
service. You should leave me.
This is a formal
No, this is so nice
voting
when they do that.
meeting. We are allowed
It's
to
like
ask
that.
our staff for advice. This is the advice they gave us because they did give the options in the paper. So, just because there's been previous workshops, this is the formal voting meeting where councillors understand that we have a democratic right to go, these are the options, and discuss, this is what my preferred option is, and these are my reasons. You guys have had plenty of time, taken up plenty of time, given your opinion of different options throughout the day. Give respect to the process. Our staff are trying to assist us.
Yeah, I agree entirely.
I
So-
will move the amendment.
Yeah.
And if there is, it makes a very slight difference in favour of the chairman of TTMAC being remunerated just like Jack will be remunerated. It's a very small change, and so and it's really up to the majority, but I'll move that amendment from 1 to 3.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Excuse me, if we're sticking to process and being technical, a mover and a seconder of a motion cannot move or second an amendment, and Councillor Jones moved that. So unless yourself and both Councillor Crowe approve the change of wording, that's actually not technically available to you.
Well, you suggested that the amendment be made by me.
No, I
Do you
didn't, I
support?
did not, I don't support the amendment. I'm saying if you want to get your point across, move an amendment.
I'll move the amendment that we vote, but to methodology 3. All right, so I'll move it. Second around.
You second this? All right, hold on.
Pea o whakaaro tui e tautoko ana koe I te mōtini kia whakawhiwhia te hea mana o TTMAC I etahi pūtea pēnā I a Jack.
I tautoko ana hau I te mea e wētahi wā kauri hau I konei. And one day it will not be me. You know, one day you will need to explain why the TMAC person is not getting, remunerated when the whāngai public transport is. Like, how are you going to explain that to our people? You know, I just think that, everybody just needs to take 5, as Jeff is suggesting, have a breather, let go of all the personalities and the ego, and just think about what is a good model for our council for everybody moving forward. Thank you.
I think that's a good
Question,
idea.
Chair. Why cannot the $300 remuneration for TMAC chair be included in methodology 1?
If I can just explain, so the difference between methodology 1 and methodology 3, methodology 1 basically says that the deputy chair gets an extra $10,000, and in getting that extra $10,000, it assumes that the job as chair or co-chair of other governance structures is included in that $10,000. Methodology 3 says, actually, no, being the co-chair of TTMAC or of any other governance structure is additional work, and that should be over and above the $10,000 that the deputy chair gets. So it's not about singling out TTMAC per se. It's just that our deputy chair is the co-chair of TTMAC. So if council decided that it wanted to remunerate the co-chair, our deputy chair, to be the co-chair for TTMAC, that's adopting methodology 3. And it would also mean that our deputy chair is also remunerated for being the chair of the Natural Resources Working Party, which our deputy chair is also chair of. So there'd be that meeting fee for both of those other governance structures. And that's the difference between methodology 1 and methodology 3.
Just a response to that, if I may, Chair. I would have thought the $10,000 higher duties allowance is because she's supporting you as chair. It doesn't have anything to do with her as co-chair to TMAC. That's a separate.
Separate.
So that assumption, I'm just going to build on from that. The assumption of the $10,000 in methodology 1 is the assumption of that she is supporting you, but she is also wearing another hat, the co-chair of a working party, and so can still be within methodology 1 that she receives a $300 committee.
You're essentially talking about methodology 3, though, John.
So I'm talking about methodology 1. That would be my interpretation, that along with those with additional responsibilities as chair or co-chair, get $300 per meeting fee.
They can't change. It's either 1 or 3.
3 is what you're saying.
So 3 is exactly what you're saying, Martin.
So option 1 is really saying the deputy chair and the chair are treated exactly the same.
Correct.
There's no adjustment. So that's the difference as far as I can see.
So if you want to support the deputy chair, who is the co-chair of TTMAC, being remunerated for chairing TTMAC and the Natural Resources Working Party, you'd support methodology 3.
But just in saying that, Marty, on the future, as Tui says, it would be irrelevant, depend on what deputy chair took on roles in the future. This methodology 3 is saying that this will be put into place. So if you're the deputy chair and you're chair of biosecurity and biodiversity, it doesn't have to be TDMAC, she's saying. It's could be you're on another working party. That's where you get the extra dollars.
What if our chair was chair of TTMAC?
our chair,
Yeah.
our chair is not eligible for any other remuneration other than what is set on the Remuneration Authority.
And that's governed in the legislation.
Yes.
So the situation with the deputy chair is quite different to the situation with the chair, because as councillors, we can make a decision to either have methodology 1 or methodology 3, as Marty has suggested, would reflect the fact that somebody is picking up extra work, and that's where I'm coming from.
Okay, we need to wrap this up because time is going by, so we are going to break.
So I thought we were having a motion to vote on. Didn't Joe move the motion?
Look, I'm happy just to have a cup of tea or something, 5 minutes. Yeah, and I'm happy to move amendment, so it's methodology 3, happy to move that way, put it to a vote.
Then it's done.
But I suggest we just have a quick.
Okay, let's have a vote. Methodology.
Oh, hang on, hang
Hold
on. We need the figures, don't we?
No, we don't.
No, there you
So
They're
here
in
on
front of you.
page 29.
2 things, we need a seconder. We only got to move
You haven't
it
got a
at the moment.
seconder.
Sorry.
Haven't got a seconder, no.
The figures, as I pointed out, are on page 29 under methodology 3. But I also do point out that that methodology is based on the current arrangement of TTMAC with 11 commitments in the year.
which is at the moment.
At the moment, it's 11.
Yeah.
So change it to 2.
So,
Well, there's
yeah.
been legislation of council to change it.
So is there a seconder, Chair?
Have we got a seconder? This motion?
We've got a mover, we've got Joe, but without a seconder, we don't have. Tui, are you,
Who's chairing this meeting?
Yeah. I'm just asking if is there a seconder? If there's no seconder, can we move on, please?
I don't mind seconding that.
Okay. Right, so then we need to vote on it?
Yep.
Okay, all in favour of option 3?
Option 3 being the substantive motion.
Methodology 3,
Methodology 3.
Yes.
not option 3.
Sorry, yeah, quite right.
Methodology 3. Can we have a show of hands, all in favour of methodology 3, please?
Aye, it's Amy in favour.
Against?
2.
Okay,
So that becomes a substantive motion. Is there any further amendments to that?
Yeah, just have a break.
yeah, all passed.
No, put it out.
So we need a
Motion.
motion.
Put it
Now
out.
it's done.
Yeah.
The motion's still over.
Sorry,
So we've got a substantive motion on the table. There's no further amendments, so technically we need to put it again.
for a vote?
Yep.
Okay, all in favour?
Aye.
All against?
Against you.
Thank you.
Sorry, technical then.
Yeah, it is different.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
You've got one resolution still to
Yeah.
go, Chair.
Methodology 3.
We've got
is the
number
rule.
3 to go.
Thank you.
Resolution 3.
Of resolution 3. Okay, that that the higher duties allocated set out above the necessary supporting information be provided by the Remuneration Authority prior to the 23rd February
I move.
2024. Seconder. Peter Lucas Jones. Go all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Passed. Okay, we're going to close this meeting now, so we're going to break for 15 minutes. 15 minutes. How are we going for time? We've got the time schedule.
We going to governance briefing.
Great. So we
This is the.
actually will start the governance briefing at 11:30, so we just need to finish the vote.
Okay, so we're supposed to start again at 11:30? Okay, can we give it a
Contact.
22?